Right now, smoke is coming out of the chimney, and we are holding off before making any kind of declaration. Because it is night and raining, we want to wait before confirming any color. Looks, wait, that's a good thing. It continually appears to be white. It is, very much white indeed. You can see the cheers, we have a new pope, and you can hear the cheers from St. Peter's Square. You can see all the crowds gathered outside waiting for that smoke to come from inside the Sistine Chapel. Now let's take a sneak peek inside. Welcome back to Wook Plus Live. I am the Great Went, joined by T after we put in an 8 Wook hour day. How are we doing, T?
It's been a long day, Kev. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. We've been thinking a lot about Jazz Fest. Didn't even make the set list for tonight because tomorrow morning we're going to release our Jazz Fest preview.
Yes, a little preview. A little chat on the a little microdose, perhaps.
Yeah, I bet that people are going to talk about the Radiators, who absolutely belong in the Rock Hall of Fame.
You think?
I totally think. My God,
you do. I know you do.
World's greatest rock and roll band.
I mean,
so what's the word? What? PHiSH got a lot of votes, but they didn't get Dave Matthews numbers.
They did not get. I mean, I was shocked when I saw that again, that Dave Matthews got over 1 million votes to get in. That's impressive.
And he didn't.
And he didn't. It took him 4 more years before they got in. But they're in now. It's crazy. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised either way. I will say that.
My money is 20% chance of them actually getting in.
Yeah. I think that's pretty good. 20, 25, maybe.
Maybe.
They're who else you think is going to get in?
My shoe-ins are Joe Cocker, Mariah Carey. I'd say Bad Company and Soundgarden are my shoe-ins. And then my on the fence guys are a Chubby Checker, I guess. Trying to think who else. Billy Idol.
Yeah.
Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah.
And my outside looking in are like White Stripes. And my not getting in are Oasis, PHiSH, and probably Mana. New Order I have is a 50-50 shot. I think I did 4 shoe-ins, 4 50-50s, and then the rest were outside looking in and nah.
Nada.
I think is how I framed it. Outcast. Yeah, no, that's the other one. Thank you, Sub-Zero. Outcast was the other shoe-in I had. I think they're going to get in no problem. And I don't understand it, but you think so, Ray? A lot of people are feeling that. I just some of the comments I saw, people were like, "Who's fish?" Doesn't bode well.
Yeah, and I think, it was interesting doing the debates because it kind of gave different facts and like perspectives to maybe not what you had thought, depending on what side of the line you were on, depending on the band and stuff. So it was interesting to kind of see qualifications for people and who really deserved it and who sort of fell short. And it was an interesting thing with, like, record success, longevity, and a few of those other things that some bands tick the box of really well in certain categories and not so well in other categories. And then it's flipped for other bands. And it was really interesting to kind of dive into that all and see, okay, well, if they did have a short fuse, kind of like Soundgarden did, yeah, was it more influential?
Like Billy Idol, like Cindy, I mean, a lot of them. And to boot, you know what? I feel like a lot of insiders probably discount Fish because they've never seen them in the best-selling album column. And I think a lot of insiders read Billboard or one of the Pollster. And, well, maybe if they read Pollster, they're like, what is this band Fish knocking up these concert tickets? But, I mean, in Billboard, you're hard to find Fish. They had a Grammy nod in 2000. They should have had a Grammy nod since then, probably, for something production. I mean, the Sigma album. The Sigma album has a production value that is off the charts. It's fantastic. Not my favorite Fish, but...
Right. I think it'll be... I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see. Definitely... There'll be some opinions, I think, to be had on who.
Oh, there will be opinions,
and who doesn't get in, right? Like I'm looking forward to some of that because I think, maybe some people that did like Fish, maybe people who did not do so well on fan votes get in, and people who did do well on fan votes do. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, for sure.
I tell you what, Fish last night made a case. I would hastily rank it as last night, Seattle 1, Portland, Seattle 2.
Yes.
Oh, you skipped ahead on us. What did you do?
I haven't touched anything. I was looking at this. I was still on the other thing. But I think, because I was going to say to you that I feel like they've been on a media blitz since, I don't know what album came out.
Since Sphere, and
really,
the album, Every time you turn around, there's an article.
A new good one too, like one that's actually decent articles about them and informative and interesting. And I feel like that, if anything, that push may have helped them a lot in sort of crossing more into the mainstream.
Maybe, yes. You see New York Times, New Yorker Magazine, whatever, is doing an article with the whole band, mentions sandwiches and boofing. I mean,
that has to reach out to people who vote and whatnot, and getting a little bit more, interest in them.
Everyone loves sandwiches.
Maybe they do get in on, and if they do, that media blitz of things will definitely be something to
look back on. People use media to brilliant. When we get to the Jam Band Roundup, we're going to mention another band that is again using the media to, fantastic things. So last night, Fish might have played the best hour of music that they have played in 4.0. And I'm going to go there with the Carini. I mean, with the Carini, the No Man's, and the Ruby Waves.
Mm-hmm.
I'd even throw in the Waste and What's the Use, because that was simply sublime, the pairing of those two for an extra long slowdown, which I probably would have gladly taken in the moment.
Right.
If you go over to banners, you can see the set list.
I think the entire set as a whole worked really well.
Fantastic.
There was no kind of stopping, much like Seattle Night 1. There was no stopping it once it got going. Granted, maybe the song selection last night was a little stronger than Seattle Night 1, but still, that Blaze On Golden Age, What's Going Through Your Mind, into That Always Wanted It This Way, Ghost is very, and the jams that were in that, because like we mentioned last night, What's Going Through Your Mind jam was very similar to the Ruby Waves jam that they got into last night.
I tell you what, Portland gets points for the sense, which as a standalone 16-minute piece is something I put up against a lot of other things. And the ripcord of Everything's Right into Boogie On in a weird key. I mean, and the 2001, because it was so unplanned, you felt they were completely in the moment.
Yeah, but I don't think Portland and Seattle Night 2 sets, second sets, don't match up to Seattle Night 1 and last night's second sets as far as the straight through playing of the jams in those songs and just the set lists in general that they tore through. Because I mean, both of the other two nights, Seattle Night 2 and Portland, both had ripcords and number line.
But what is more egregious? Which ripcord is more egregious?
Oh, definitely the Piper.
Mm-hmm.
By far. Well, it's not even a question, but they're both
not even a question.
I mean, but each his own. So, but I'm just saying, I think night 1 and then night 4 those second sets are very much in line with each other.
Going hard, my man. Yeah, Weekapa was Weirtsk, and they did it same thing in Mexico earlier this year. So that is the reality we're living in. Weekapa is out of key and off pace. We are no longer in the Weekapa groove that you knew.
It's a new groove. It's a new day.
Let me ask you, are we repeating this tour? 4 in, and I'm getting the feeling they aren't. There's so much left on the table. Even throwing the Fluffhead in as an encore last night.
There's a lot left. I mean, we haven't even, like we mentioned, gotten into any Pillow Jets, Life Saving Gun. Like, there's a lot that they haven't that they've used.
I mean, none of that.
Even going well, and even older stuff too with his guitar that I'm sure he wants to play still, as we've talked about. I think there's still a lot of older songs to get through with this tour. So I could see it happening. There's only 4 left. So
is the headline of this tour going to be Marmar Returns?
Yes.
I think it's fired Trey up. I think there's a spirit in that guitar. Yeah. I think that guitar is a living creature.
I think it's very similar to what's his name? Looking at his car right now.
and Tiger.
What Andy Logan says about, passing around the Jerry guitar is like, it's meant to be played. There's like music left in these things. You don't want it just sitting around not being played. And with Trey, that's his sound, right? Like, that's how most of us, I don't know, love that sound. So It's awesome. And yeah, I think you're right. It's kind of kicked a new spirit out there into it, a new fun, because there's looseness and a fun in some of the songs that sometimes he doesn't let loose in sometimes, and I think you've seen that more and more in this tour, which has been great to see.
There you go. So here the question becomes, where does profit come into the equation? of respecting the music, bringing it back. Then Company, their residency, 2025 residency, they've made sure to tell you that they will be back next year. I would put, even to good money on that. What are you thinking? 9 shows in, they busted a couple out. I mean, we had a bust out this weekend. I feel like there are some really brilliant moments coming out from it. And I'm going to throw one out to you from the first night, the Uncle John Supplication. Uncle John, we've been talking about it. Second time Supplication has appeared with Dead and Company.
Yeah. I think it's fun to see how they've changed it up a little bit with the new songs and adding new twists in with it. And I mean, O'Teal the other night, I think it's so nice to hear him get more too, especially Jerry songs, which I think is so appropriate for him.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So
let's focus on the first night, because we had Supplicate. Are you a fan of the King? Have you ever listened to the Kingfish album back from '76 that has the studio version? I think might be one of Bobby's strongest studio efforts ever, and he only sings 2 or 3 songs on the whole album. A lot of it's Matt Kelly and Tolbert and everybody else, and I felt like it was a great home for him when the Dead stopped touring.
Yeah.
My pet cat, which one?
He's still right over your shoulder. He's like perfectly framed.
Clementine, that isn't a table, that's a couch. That's Clementine's bed, Skinny. Space had a little White Lotus theme, and it landed in Wharf Rat. Wharf Rat is a beauty. They debuted it the day I was born, so I have a spiritual connection to it. But Friday night is probably the best. I'm going to throw a name at you. You let me know, because I know you're a fan. Renee Fleming.
Oh, what a little surprise that was, right? How fun, how cool. And it added this whole other element. If you don't know, she's opera singer. She's performed at presidential inaugurations and the Olympics, and been in, like, you've heard her music in films and on Broadway, and she's actually collaborated with a lot of artists like Lou Reed, Wynton Marsalis, Paul Simon, Sting. So
big list.
Been around forever.
She got resume for days.
Resume for days, years. So to see her come out and do this vocal with Mickey was a real treat. And again, adding new flavors to everything. It's so fun.
Weird. It was weird. I love weird. Come on, right? With the beam. I mean,
it's cool. Very cool. Very.
He introduced her before. He introduced her. Let everybody know what was going on. She's a soprano, and I've never knew to mix opera with my psychedelia.
I know. And it looked crazy too with the graphics going on with her and Mickey, and it was crazy, but good. I mean, cool too. Something cool for the Sphere, adding a new element into it too, in the audio and everything. So,
well, could you let me ask you this? Could you see opera, the Magic Flute, Don Giovanni, something at the Sphere? That might be actually interesting,
right? Very sound wise, with some visuals.
A whole new opera. But where are you gonna? I guess the biggest problem with the Sphere and doing a symphony is all those instruments. The way the stage is, you see how PHiSH didn't have gear. Dead and Company don't really have gear out there on stage with them.
No, it's all underneath. So I don't know if the symphony, if that's why you would have to do like opera or something where the singers were on stage, and then
the symphony's underneath. Would you not even
like the Oscars and shit? Yeah, exactly.
That's weird.
Yeah,
that would be strange. All right, so also Friday night we had Renee come out, but we had, as you mentioned, Jimmy Cliff's reggae anthem, Harder They Come, one of Jerry's signature tunes. I mean, Jerry completely owned it. It's only 1, 2, maybe O'Teal tunes we've got. No Comes a Time, Fire on the Mountain he doesn't sing anymore. It's What happened?
Tragedy.
Why did
That's
they cut
just a
him out?
tragedy. Give it back to him. Give it back. But yeah, it was awesome to hear and see him like owning a song again and being like, you know what? I need something. You guys are taking my shit away. So it was good to hear that. And I love it. So hopefully it stays in rotation.
Is it weird to you that what they're reaching back to is Jerry Band, Harder They Come, and then on Saturday night we got a second Lay Down Sally. So they're doing Jerry Band tunes but covers. It seems, I don't want to get shot for this, but a little bit of a cop-out. Where's Cats Under the Stars or Ruben and Cerise or something?
Maybe they're coming. Maybe something like that is coming. I thought you were going to go the other way and be like, are they like purposely keeping things away from Bobby? Like things that they know he can't and won't sing because like he likes to steal all the Jerry parts in all the songs.
That, what was the other tune that they busted out? They busted Broken Arrow, another cover. John sang Broken Arrow, which is a Robbie Robertson tune. Why aren't we doing Grateful Dead catalog stuff that never came out? Or if you want to do a cover, and let's give Bobby a bone, bring back Sitting on Top of the World.
Okay.
Open a show, bring the house down. It would bring the house down. Come on.
That would be fun. Okay. That would be fun. And I think it's interesting that these songs are the cover, like you said, like they're what they learned, you know what I mean? Like instead of going into deeper into the library or finding even their own covers or their own things, that they've kind of found these other off songs. I mean, I'll take a Harder They Come, but yeah, it is kind of an interesting one to pull out of there. I don't know, and to play it with Dead and Co. And I don't know. It's cool though. It's interesting.
I think I listen to all three shows. I try to listen to every show. Sometimes I'd skip a tune. I'm not going to listen to Ramble on Rose again. I'm sorry, especially if I look at the timing and know it's no longer than every other version Dead Company did. God bless him. But he's gone into Steven, drum space, Dear Prudence. Steven again completely steps up. I know how in love you were with the first one they did. This is the third, I think, because they did a Steven 11. But that first one you were so in love with, I think this shares in that spirit.
Okay, I'll have to listen to it a couple more times. It didn't grab me as quickly as the other one did, but yeah, it's another good solid version that's in that realm of like how it's being played. Do you think it's
what's before it? I forget what they played for the other one, but they did He's Gone before this, which is a really mellow tune, so maybe that some of that spills over.
So kind of unleashed, like that other one though. I mean, Mayer just really unleashes twice. The hose comes out and he's just on it. So it's great to hear that though, that I mean in these versions that even listening to them now, how much energy he still has in them. So it's great.
All right, Drums in Space continues to be the most interesting thing Dead and Company do. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people don't like Drums in Space. And I tell you what, in 1989, if you had asked me, I would have said drop it because I wanted another song. But as I've grown older, I've grown to appreciate it was the one chance Jerry had and Dead and Company now have to completely go naked in front of the crowd. And Dear Prudence, band's first Dear Prudence of the year, beautiful. A beautiful landing. Of all the Beatles tunes, it's not my favorite Bobby doing, but you know what it is? It's Mayer. He adds this little bluesy flair towards the end of it that I think sets it apart from maybe Rat Dog versions of it or something.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. I'm surprised. There's just certain songs again that we talk about with Bobby, and I think you need some of that extra flair from Mayer in times of need. Yep. And I think John's very good at providing that. Especially with what he does with Clemente.
Well, the best is right. The best is to go with Taboot saying, "We love you, Taboot."
And I would say I think the cool thing about drums in space is where it is now. Like having it in the Sphere is a totally different.
It's perfect
feeling, right? It's the kind of where it's always belonged. Like stadiums and like arenas are cool for it, but
there was no top, there was no roof,
there was no. Yeah, and like the sound could, depending on where you were, the sound could be kind of like now it's perfect
rough.
and it's and it's perfect for space, which I think is really cool, and to really like be able to enjoy that as one would. So I think that helps it a lot too, Kevin. I think that's where it really belongs, and they're so fortunate to get to play. I'm sure Mickey is in heaven every night playing drums in that place. So
I think he is. I definitely think he is. It's a beautiful thing. The Denton Company will continue their residency. We got 9 shows down. We got 9 to go. April 24th at the Sphere. Go see them this weekend if you got the money to do that. Me, I'll be checking setlist.com for the set list and looking for that Mixler. If anybody knows, call me. Yes. You know what my favorite thing to do was when Phil and Jerry would argue during space, and Phil would play something completely contrary to what Jerry was playing, and you would actually hear them in real time trying to decide whether to go into the other one or to go into Stella Blue or whatever Jerry was on that night. You know, it seemed like Phil was a great advocate for Bobby out of space.
Yeah, he probably liked, I mean, probably because a lot more of his songs had good Bobby intros in them coming out, right? Like Other One.
Ooh, I
as
love
opposed
this.
to like,
Look at that.
there you go.
Big. I love that, my man. Thank you. That's a nugget I will put away. So, you know, they're doing 9 more shows, and anytime you talk about 9 shows and getting tickets, you talk about Ticketmaster. And do you feel like it's really the end? You and I both read this article. The article's about Congress and what people are, you know, that they're trying to break up Live Nation. And it seems like there's a lot of Congress people behind breaking it up too. I feel like this is like the ultimate case because you no longer get monopolies being broken up. You no longer have AT&T. You let these things happen now, it seems like, for the most part. I've talked to people about when this bill first came to be that let Ticketmaster and Live Nation, you know, combine and sell the tickets and own the venues and the apparatus and everything. And behind the scenes, everyone's like, this sucks, don't do it. But there was enough money up front that it happened.
Yeah, of course. And since then, they've managed to buy out or prevent other ticketing agencies to happen. Like Fanatics was going to open one with their.
You got Axis, but it's like Axis has the playbook that Ticketmaster threw out for being the worst ever.
And, you know, small ones like Dice and things like that. But it's
there was one that Shapiro was involved in at one time that sold tickets to like the Capitol and things like that, but it eventually got folded into Ticketmaster. There's always a price that someone's going to say, all right, I'm moving on. But growing up, I had Ticketron. If you wanted Ticketron, you went to Record Theater. If you wanted Ticketmaster, you went to Hex. You know? There were 2 completely different systems. Yeah. And the dead always chose Ticketmaster because I waited out at Hex more times than I care to remember. But other bands like Rush were always Ticketron in the area. It was John Shore was the guy promoter's name. And I think what he had to deal with Ticketmaster, which probably taught them early on, there's lots of money to be made on the side.
Well, yeah, they are the primary ticket vendor for 82% of the largest performance venues, which says a lot right there of buying up the competition and getting rid of their whatevers. And of those venues, it owns or operates 64% of them. So they also own the venue. So they're basically selling tickets to their own arenas,
and then they do backdoor stuff like they screw vendors over.
Right.
Because they have the vendors come in from outside and pay them basically a tax in order to sell So they're making nothing. They're selling $14 beers because they have to do that to make $2.
They had over 50,000 events last year with over 151 million fans attending that. And they made a total revenue of roughly $23 billion, 19 billion of which was generated off their concert arm. So, I mean, we're all beholden to them. And
well, we aren't necessarily. I mean, what you can do is no longer go see a Lady Gaga, maybe even no longer go see a PHiSH. Unless you can walk in the door and pay $20 at the door, maybe you don't go see live music anymore. I know that's a really extreme stance, but if all of a sudden Live Nation looked out and it was half filled, they dropped their ticket prices in half. When I saw Alice in Chains, I took my youngest, the oldest didn't want to go. We waited until a week before and I got $20 seats for each of us in the pavilion. And we walked down to the 101 section because everybody left after Bush for some reason and didn't want to see Alice in Chains. Are you kidding me, people?
I don't think.
But if you stick it to them.
Yeah, we've been saying that since the beginning. It doesn't happen. Like no one's giving up their concert going experiences to,
right.
I mean, we just did a whole thing on,
man. You're going to miss out. I will never see the Rolling Stones and I will never see Paul McCartney. And I have come to peace with that. And I could have seen both of them, but I would not pay $400 for myself and to take one of my kids or both of them and my mom. My mom, I would have taken her to see Paul McCartney, but $800. I'm sorry. I got kids to feed,
I hear you. I hear you.
That's what happens.
It's a ridiculous thing to have to deal with, and just the whole process is broken. Buying tickets, purchasing them online, the after market is like it's all broken. It all needs to come down, and I don't know how we got to this point. But
we got to this point like everything else. Deregulation. It's a buzzword.
Right, but it just kept going. Like it just kept going like we just kept letting the beast like get to a point where now we're like crap.
I do love my mom, Funky Chris.
Just not enough to take her to see Paul McCartney.
Right. People always laughed at me years ago. There was a certain band that I mentioned, and I always used to say that the atmosphere only supports a balloon weight for so long, right? You go up so high and eventually you come down. The Grateful Dead found this out. They had Touch of Grey, 87, 88, 89, selling out stadiums. By the time Jerry died, they would sell the stadium out at the end of the day. Kind of like bands sell Madison Square Garden out. But maybe every seat really isn't sold, kind of thing. So,
right.
That's where we are with that. All right, so Jam Band Roundup. I'm going to throw some things out. I don't know if you heard of them. I know some of these bands you're into. Some of them you're like, Kevin, I'll take a little bit of that at a time. Humphreys was in Marrakesh, Morocco. Now, is that cool? Is that a great destination? Everybody goes to Mexico. We're going to Morocco.
I mean, as long as they played Marrakesh Express.
I do not believe they did. They played Rock the Casbah.
Opportunity.
Right? They played Rock the Casbah, In the Flesh, Another Brick.
Uh-huh.
They called it Morocco Shell, which is a Paul McCartney nod. Right? Is that fantastic?
That's fun. I mean, I don't know if there's a big audience for them there or how many people traveled for that, but that's pretty insane destination.
Right. I think with these destination things, though, if you price it right, the people who really want to go can afford to go. And that will be enough people in order to fund the expedition, so to speak.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe
not. You'd hope.
Marrakesh.
So, right, what do you make of the Hill?
Boy, if that's not a loaded question, I don't know what is. I know you hate them, so I'm just going to let you speak about your
I
disdain
don't think
for,
it's hate.
for this.
It isn't hate. They're bloated, I would say, is how I would frame it. They're bloated. Until you get to Face Dancers and whatever that album is after it, about or It's Hard. The one with Athena and Eminence front, they were out of him. But anyway, so they fired Zach Starkey. Apparently, him and Daltrey got in a pissing match, and he was like, "I'm fired." The band said he was fired. Then he responded and said, "I'm not worthy. I should have never been playing with you." He did this whole capitulation thing. Well, now Pete Townsend says that Zach Starkey is not being asked to step down. Let's stay in the headlines. Come on, 24-hour news cycle here.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, for a 60-year-old band or whatever, like it's some serious, ridiculous drama, I feel like. And I don't know. I don't know. It's
Public
ridiculous.
Statements, right? Public statements. We've talked about this before. You don't make a public statement.
He said he didn't say like it's his fault. I think it's ridiculous.
Yes, Cellar Door team, Jeff. I love Cellar Door. 930 Club. I guess whatever 930 Club's thing is now is probably remnants of that. So what happened was Pete Townsend posted on Instagram, newsflash, who bagged Zach? Zach is not being asked to step down from the Who. Then he continues to throw him under the bus. There have been some communication issues, personal and private, on all sides that need to be dealt with, and they have been aired happily. It sounds like the White House wrote that. Townsend message directed onlookers to the band's website, yada, yada, yada. And then they went to explain what happened. Maybe we didn't put enough time into sound checks. The issue was, I guess, the drums are right behind Daltrey, and all he heard was the drums. Zach made a few mistakes, and he has apologized. Boss, Zach, how you doing? So if I was Zach, I would be like, Dad, can I come out on tour with you? I mean, why are you even going to put up with that?
Boss, Zach.
I mean, the way they frame that, you don't hear one mention of Daltrey, who's a damn prima donna. The Who could have been a power trio. They didn't need Daltrey. Townsend is a good enough singer that they just felt they needed it for show. He was a pretty boy. They wanted to put a pretty boy out in front. And right. I'm sorry, you guys can shoot me all you want about that. That's how I feel about the whole thing. The Kinks were better. That's all
you're never getting a Roger Daltrey minute, so don't ever
No, there will never be a Roger Daltrey minute. My God. So what do we know about Fry Fest?
Oh boy. Well, the second one, much like the first one.
The one that didn't happen? Oh, wait.
The first one's a lot like the second one, in that it's pretty much not happening, as we all knew, as is a shock to absolutely nobody. But I like the message that he put out on
Fyre, yes, his role. Sorry,
on April 23rd about like
these guys are huge.
It was about two things: finishing what I started and making things right. Over the past 2 years, we poured everything into bringing Fyre Festival back with honesty, transparency, relentless effort, and creativity. Oh man, it's like the brand is bigger than any one person and bigger than what I'm able to lead on my own. It's a movement, and it deserves a team with the scale, experience, and infrastructure to realize its potential. I mean, this guy is a master bullshit artist. I mean, like, the fact that he's been able to keep selling nothing. Like the audacity is incredible. I mean, it's
Sign
amazing.
me up.
It's amazing.
When the grift is that big, it just has to work, I guess.
It's incredible. I don't know. I mean, it's just like you could build a website with fancy AI shit all over it and then promise all that. I don't know. It's amazing, but yes, to no one's surprise, it's not happening.
He's trying to sell the name now as a streaming service, right?
Yeah,
is that the gist of what's going on?
The whole thing. It's exactly the pet rock. Exactly.
Man, that guy. And he's taken so many good people down with him with it. Never forget the cheese sandwich. I don't know if Wavy Gravy is alive or not, but it's the 50th anniversary of something he has called Can't Win a Rainbow. And they're doing an auction. I found this fascinating because Mickey Hart, Steve Earle, John Popper, Billy Strings are all donating stuff. It is a camp that was founded in 1975, which I was 4. Promotes circus arts, theater, and outdoor experiences for kids. So a signed drum from Mickey Hart, meet and greet Zoom sessions with John Popper. Do you want to do a meet and greet with John Popper? Maybe you can get a lesson how to suck that harmonica, boy. You know, come on.
I would take a one-on-one with John Popper.
All right, but there's some Grateful Dead stuff. Backstage passes, Bill Graham's script for The Doors, meet and greets with Hot Tuna, Leftover Salmon, Rolling Stones guitar picks.
It's pretty cool.
I didn't see exactly what the Billy Strings contribution was, but Billy Strings is such a pure soul. That guy is just so fantastic.
You can get tickets to Billy Strings and Jack White and like to shows. I know they're part of the thing, auctioning off or whatever. So
Wavy is 88. I'm gonna cap you out, DeVille, even though you did that. That is so cool. Wavy is 88. That guy is just, I mean, his most iconic thing, I guess, is if you listen to the Woodstock soundtrack or watch the movie, he's the guy who's like, we're going to feed 10,000, you know, whatever he's saying. The hog farm is out there working. Just so fantastic. Yeah, what can you do? All right, can we go back a little bit to, we started off with the Rock Hall. Let's talk a little bit more about this because I just came across in my notes the fan votes. And do you remember at one time Billy Idol was in second place? Like by a lot? I'm wondering how Bad Company ended up 20,000 votes ahead of them.
Their people got into voting.
I think there's a industry plant in there somewhere. I'm wondering. Okay.
I don't think it matters though. I mean, only the first place vote got one vote. It doesn't count for anything but like one vote, and only the first place winner gets that one, the coveted one vote. So
right. But they got that 2020 and then 2 more years through 2024, and then they finally got in last year. So I don't know. I just, you know how I feel about it generally, but I really want to believe that there are people who are actually voting who have some, you know, can conceptualize music outside of the box of Western music that they're in, that it's got to be the twist, or it has to be All I Want for Christmas Is You kind of thing, you know, that this is the only music that exists, whereas PHiSH pulls from all over the world. You know, it's bringing in these diverse elements, maybe.
I don't know if I would.
I'm not selling that.
From all over the world, I don't think
Like the landlady, I feel like there's some Turkish elements sometimes, and the more like surf rock kind of riffs. And
So you're saying musically they use
there's no
more.
sitar or anything going on. I mean, obviously, but Stash is not Western sounding music.
Okay.
Is that fair? It's very jarring. The first time you hear Stash, you're like, that's weird. It's in a weird time. There's weird backing going on. The guitar's playing this strange, complicated riff.
Yeah, but does that automatically then, I don't know, make
I'm
you
just
think?
I'm just saying people need Mana should get in. What they should do is let Mana get in. Anyway.
Oh, that's your conclusion now?
That's where we landed.
That's where you're
Mana.
landing all of a sudden?
Yeah. So there's some guy who was the Grateful Dead's video director released a memoir. Okay, I'm springing this one. You probably haven't. It's called Friend of the Devil: My Wild Ride with Jerry Garcia. It seems like a clickbait kind of thing. He is the guy who shot the Hell in a Bucket music video. So he started hanging out with Garcia. I guess he got his number. They were texting. They didn't have text back then. But he was on Fox News. So here's where we go completely downhill with this whole story. But he said we'd go out to dinner and the manager would come over and say the meal's on us. And Jerry would say, no, thanks. I can pay for this. I have money. Why don't you give a free meal to people who don't have money? Good for Jerry. But the end of it, he said, I remember I came across the phrase charm machine. That was Garcia. To meet him was to know him. I spoke to him right before he died. I remember us sitting there reminiscing for an hour and a half about his early days. It was hysterical. We laughed until we cried. But later I thought, why was he talking about his early life on that particular day? I was in denial. He says that Jerry knew he was going to die, is the gist of where this whole thing goes, which is that a little crazy?
I don't know, because I mean, it's.
I think he did. I think
Probably.
stopping heroin killed him. His body didn't know how to handle that.
Well, that was the whole thing of going and like trying to get well and go, like why he. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. It's an interesting story that he had.
It's interesting.
It's interesting, but I mean, I don't doubt it. I mean, I think he probably was exhausted.
Clickbaity, though. It seems a little clickbaity, doesn't it?
Completely, especially to do it like now.
All right.
With everything.
We're coming up on 30 years.
That's crazy.
Dude, that's a lot.
That's
think all what they've done. The rest of it, we need to think about that and do something special. Come on.
I mean, look at what they've continued to do. Isn't it crazy? 30 years on since he died.
Yes, it's totally crazy. Insanity. All right, Goose.
Insanity. I tell you.
Goose got into the New York Times. This is where you can click out, not Goose people. Are Goose the new Dead, the new PHiSH, the new Ed Sheeran? All right, let's click. You want to talk about clickbait? Basically an article kind of panning the band for their studio effort. The idea is it's an afterthought maybe to their live performances. What do you think? Rolling Stone magazine. Oh, yes, Simon. Thank you, Simon. Always looking out for me, man.
Yes, crap from Rolling Stone as well.
Well, here, the first sentence. In the roughly dozen years since Goose was hatched, the Connecticut band with the morphine lineup. That's how it starts.
The morphine.
So they're like throwing that out there in the start, and basically it's saying it's the Dead or the Allman Brothers in their early years without the edge, is the kind of vibe I got from where this person was going with it.
It's it says it's an interesting, like it says like moments on everything must go when the band sounds eager to climb out of the jam band world's collective hacky sack.
So why do you got to go with the cliche stuff? I really truly believe that rock journalism goes to the lowest common denominator instead of
Completely.
trying to get to the truth of something and maybe finding a greater truth within what they do. If you present Goose to me as something, I think the most interesting thing is about the werewolf song and talking about how heavy it is and all that in the top of the article.
Right,
Because
talking about how that's their
yeah.
box of rain. Like,
Right. I don't see that at all. I kind of see it as a mini little horror thing. And I dig that kind of stuff. So I'll take that. There's so you read Edgar Allan Poe and you walk away from it with that was crazy. All right, the pit and the pendulum, whatever, but there's a greater truth that you take from it.
yeah.
We'll
I don't
see
know.
what happens.
It's an interesting read in the respect that in the way that it doesn't, I don't know, you don't read a lot of Goose press like this, you know what I mean? That's sort of,
I feel like there was something earlier in the week too about them with like Shapiro commenting and things
oh
like
yeah,
that.
I saw that. Yeah, something. But it's interesting to me because like I don't know, they have such an interesting sound and fan base and everything that it's just, I feel like they remind me more of like their sound and what they do isn't so straight up like PHiSH Jam, you know what I mean? It has a little bit more of like, not really, almost Disco Biscuits-y vibes in there and things like that that make it a little bit more into that way of jam music a little bit too, to me.
That's called indie groove.
The indie groove jam.
For Goose, not for Disco Biscuit. The Disco
Right.
Biscuits are
Right.
Philadelphia's transfusion pioneers.
But it just, I don't know, to me, and that's kind of how where their sound differs for me from like straight up PHiSH Jam. So
Is it
yeah.
heavy though, Simon? I guess is my thing. Like you pull from all those influences, but unless you're willing to take your shoes off in the dirt, how much is it? I don't know. Where's the truth in it? Goose is better than the Biscuits. I love you, Simon. You're the best. This is so great. All right. Make sure that you comment if you're watching this later. If it's your first time, make sure that you subscribe. We're going to hit the Neil Young minute, probably wrap this up a few minutes early because we got about an hour before we have a
We got
whole
a show
to watch
tonight.
And then what happens 15 minutes after the encore?
We'll be back on again later tonight if you can't get enough. And if
If
you're a
you can't get
member, we'll
enough.
probably see you at set break if you're a member for a member hang, and we can get into a few more juicy details on things, which I'm sure
There you go.
hang out more content.
So here, check this out. The Neil Young minute. Not much going on. He did the protest stuff like that, but an article, they asked Neil about what his best song was, and he said Harvest. So there you have it. What is your favorite Neil Young tune?
That's his favorite song or his best song?
He said, Harvest is one of my best songs. That's the best thing on Harvest.
Okay. Interesting.
Right. So we'll see how much that gets him. He's only played it 39 times live. If it's your best song, why don't you play it live? And that was your Neil Young minute.
Well, I mean, maybe he doesn't want to wear it out, and he's got such a catalog. I think he's okay playing other songs.
His tour last year, he played very few of the hits. I think you got like Heart of Gold in the encore was like the biggest thing that he did the whole night, and it was a lot of the B-sides and deeper album cuts, which good for him. At this point, go out and play what you want to play, man. Give the people something. I can hear Heart of Gold 100 times.
Totally. I agree.
You know?
There's certain songs of his that you can hear 100 times that just don't get old, that you can listen to over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And by the way, PHiSH should play Powderfinger again.
PHiSH should play Powderfinger. We'll see you guys 15 minutes after the encore. Thanks for hanging with me.
Powderfinger again.
How about down by the river?
Oh, yeah. Hey, we're working on a 1-minute feature on Neil Young, and as soon as all this calms down,
we'd probably get something off of Translate our computers. We are dinosaurs in the computer age.
Exactly. Enjoy the show tonight. Halfway over with tour, or the run, I guess.
Like, comment, subscribe. Sit, Ubu.